They heard the lions before they saw the arena. I want to share two true stories from the early church. They happened long ago, but they still speak to many people today. I will tell them in plain words, just as if we were talking over coffee. No fancy talk, no preaching, just what the old records say. These stories are about two friends who never met each other, but whose lives were linked. Their names were Ignatius of Antioch and Polycarp of Smyrna. Both were leaders in their towns. Both were arrested, and both were killed for their faith, one by lions, one by fire and a sword. Historians place Ignatius's death around AD 107 and Polycarp's around AD 155. Grab a seat because this will take about 15 minutes to read. Let's begin with Ignatius, the road to Rome. Ignatius was Bishop of Antioch, a busy city in Syria. By this time, the Roman Empire saw Christians as strange. Some local leaders blamed them for bad luck or unrest. Around AD 107, a new wave of arrests hit Antioch. Roman guards seized Ignatius. He was well known and would make a loud example. They chained him and set him on the long road to Rome. The trip crossed miles of dust and stone. Along the way, church groups met him at each stop. They hugged him, cried, and begged him to fight or hide. But he spoke calm words. "I want to be where Jesus is." He also wrote letters, 7 of them, that still survive. They sound brave, but you can sense the weight in the lines. He knew what lions did to flesh. The arena Rome loved games. Wild beast versus humans drew huge crowds. When Ignatius reached the capital, guards threw him into a holding cell below the arena floor. The day of the show came. Above, the crowd roared. Below, Ignatius could smell straw and blood. A guard pushed him up the ramp. Sunlight burned his eyes. He heard iron gates creak. Then came that deep growl. Lions had not eaten since the night before to make them sharp with hunger. Old stories say Ignatius spoke one last time. He thanked God aloud. The crowd jeered. A horn blew. Gates snapped open. 2 lions leaped. We have no full script of what happened next. One record says the lions left nothing but a few bones. Roman workers later scooped up what was left and tossed it outside the city. Some believers gathered those scraps and buried them in secret. That was the end of Ignatius, but his letters spread. They crossed seas and deserts, copied by hand. Long after the roar died, his words kept speaking. From student to elder, Polycarp grew up in Smyrna, a port city in Asia Minor, modern Turkey. He was born around the time Ignatius died. Old writings say he had met the Apostle John in his youth. By his later years, Polycarp was Bishop of Smyrna. People loved him. He fed the poor and sheltered travelers. Rome now had a new emperor, Antoninus Pius. Local rulers still feared any group that would not honor Roman gods. A festival came to Smyrna with games and sacrifices. The crowd got restless and shouted, "Bring out Polycarp!" The arrest friends urged Polycarp to hide in the hills. He did for a few days, but the guards found him. When they entered the cottage, he could have fled out the back. Instead, he said, "God's will be done," and offered them dinner. The guards, shocked by this kindness, gave him an hour to pray before they tied him. They took him into town the next day. The city's proconsul sat in a big open space. He called out, "Swear by Caesar, curse Christ, and you can go." Polycarp answered, 86 years I have served him, and he never did me wrong. How can I curse my king?" That angered the crowd. They yelled for the lions, but the animal fights were over for the day. So the proconsul said, "Burn him alive." The fireworkers piled wood in the center. They tried to nail him to a stake so he would not run, but he said, "Leave me. The one who gives me strength will help me stand." They tied his hands with rope instead. When they lit the fire, witnesses said the flames rose but curled like a sail around him, leaving a gap. The heat was intense, yet his body did not fall at once. A soldier, nervous, stabbed him to finish the job. Blood poured out and the flames sank. Some said the smell was like baked bread. That detail might sound strange, but the document that records this, the Martyrdom of Polycarp, says it plainly. The crowd was tired now. Officials burned what was left of him so no one could keep the bones as relics. But believers had already hidden a few ashes. These deaths are harsh. They are also part of history, like countless other brutal moments. Ignatius and Polycarp did not plan to be heroes. They simply refused to trade their faith for safety. You might ask, did this really happen like that? Most scholars think the main facts are solid. Some details, like flames bending, come from witnesses who believed God gave signs. Even if parts are colored by memory, the core events, an arrest, a trial, lions, fire, a sword, fit Roman records for that era. Today, some people read their letters and feel courage. Others read and shake their heads at such risk. Either way, these stories remind us what people can endure for ideas they hold close. After Polycarp died, a young man from his church wrote down every step he could recall. He sent it to other towns so they would know. He closed with a simple line: "We wish to be true followers, so that one day we may share a place with these friends of Christ." No shouting, no threats, just a hope.